friends. This week we are going to focus on two concepts which are very, very directly related in the leadership and leader development process in our lives as individual leaders and in our work as collective leaders. I'm talking about character and community. It is in community that a leader lives out his or her character, and at the same time that the character is being lived out in the community is serving to prune and to shape the leader's character. See what I mean? Those are two very, very interrelated concepts in the process of leader development, which we are going to focus on this week. Today, however, we shall be talking specifically about who the leader is. Yes, I'm talking about the character of the leader. When you hear the word character, I am sure it brings different concepts into your mind. You might think about somebody's behavior, somebody's conduct. You might think about somebody's honesty or dishonesty, etc., etc. But today, as we talk about character, we shall be looking at what the Bible says about David in Psalm 78 verse 72, and it says that, and David led the people with integrity of heart. So the word or the synonym that we shall be using for character in today's video will be integrity. What is integrity? The quality of being honest is the quality of having strong moral principles. Also, it is the state of being whole or undivided. It originates from the Latin word for integer, which means one. An integer is a whole number. And so that's the sense in which we shall be talking about character or the integrity of a leader today. It is therefore the sense of wholeness in the life of a leader, which derives from such qualities as honesty and, yes, consistency of character. You are in integrity when the life you are living on the outside matches who you are on the inside. That is a quote by Alan Cohen. The life you are living on the outside matching who you are on the inside. That should begin to ask you questions. Are you the same person inside that you are outside? Are there times in your leadership when you're thinking one thing and acting another, or thinking one thing and saying another? In Proverbs chapter 10 verse 9, the Bible says, whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but whoever takes crooked paths will be found out. The concept of being found out as a crooked leader is something that we shall revisit many times throughout this week. But notice what it says about security. It's the person who walks in integrity, the person who doesn't have to live a divided life. I think it was Aristotle who said character is who you are when no one is watching you. Many of us leaders get to lead on public platforms, and many times we carve or decide how we want to come across. We paint the image that we want to project, but inside us there's probably something else going on. And in the darkness, when no one else is watching us, many leaders suffer with different kinds of addictions, many different kinds of character problems, and deep-seated issues, relationship issues that have not been dealt with. That is a sign of a leader who is lacking in integrity. Proverbs chapter 11 verse 3 further says, the integrity of the upright saves them, but the unfaithful are destroyed by their duplicity. So you see where we are going to with the concept of character this week. Your ability to be the same person everywhere, is that true of you as a leader? Paul spoke in Titus chapter 2 verse 7 to 8, and he said, in everything set them an example by doing what is good. In your teaching, show integrity. Did you know that as a leader, your teaching might be lacking in integrity? Paul warns, and he says, in your teaching, show integrity, seriousness, and soundness of speech. Let's talk about what character is not in this case. Character is not a list of do's and don'ts. I am sure that you probably grew up trying to obey some rules at home. How well did that work for you? Those do's and don'ts, when they don't come from deep-seated values and beliefs that we have owned to become our own, they only become a show or performance. Secondly, character is not a set of performance standards that you and I as leaders have to adhere to. We live and serve in a culture where leaders are supposed to be the strong men or women. You're not supposed to do this as a leader. You're not supposed to do that as a leader. And so leadership for many of us has become the concept of perfecting appearances, where we put up different faces with different people, depending on what is acceptable and or not in the different contexts where we find ourselves. But character is not about performance. It is not also a result of biting your teeth and trying too hard to do the right thing. As a matter of fact, what therefore is character for the Christian leader? Character is the formation of the image of Christ in our lives and our ministries. Last week we talked extensively about our union with Christ, and we're coming back there. Do you see the link? Your character flows out of your union with Christ, of who you are as a person in your relationship with Jesus Christ. Character, therefore, is not only what people can see. I am sure if we visited your community and talked to your family members, your church members, your ministry members, your organizational members, they would tell us something about you. Mr. A or Miss B is this or that or this or that. The question I have for you, however, is does what they say about you match who you really are on the inside? Jesus Christ addressed this issue of duplicity. You know, he was the most stern in his warnings to the Pharisees and the teachers of the law. If you read in the Gospels, you would see he had some very, very harsh words for them. And he says in Matthew chapter 5, verse 21 to 28, he says, "You have heard that it was said long ago, you shall not murder, and anyone who murders will be subject to judgment." But then he says, "But I tell you the truth, whoever is angry with a brother or a sister will be subject to judgment." Do you see what Jesus is doing? He is saying murder is what people will see. If you kill somebody, everybody can see you've killed somebody. But you can be angry with someone in your heart and nobody will know that you're angry with that person. Jesus says you will be subject to judgment the same way that you are when you kill, as you would be when you are angry in your heart and nobody says it. He goes on to say, "You have heard that it was said, anyone who says to his brother or sister, Raka, is answerable to the court, and whoever says, you fool, is in danger of the fire of hell. But I tell you the truth, whoever just thinks evil of his brother in his heart." He goes on to talk about committing adultery and says, "Whoever looks upon a woman lustfully." So Jesus is clearly contrasting the outward manifestations of our behavior to the inward attitudes of our heart. Therefore, our character contains both the visible and the invisible elements. While the visible elements involve things like your behavior, the things that people can easily see, the invisible elements of your character and integrity speak to your desires, your thoughts, your motives, your attitudes, and the secret things that you do and harbor that nobody else can see. The measure of the health of your character includes therefore evaluating not only the integrity of your outward behavior, but also how it affects your inner life. That is very, very important. One of the stories that we have come to really love in our leader development work is the story of the mango tree that was told by our brother from Nigeria, Chaga. He talks about his grandfather who had an orchard, and their children, when they were growing up, they used to love going to grandpa's because then they will get to visit the orchard, eat all kinds of fruits. But there was a particular mango tree that had that bore the Binta sugar mango. Those of you from Nigeria, you probably know what Binta sugar is, but this is supposed to be like a particular kind of mango that is really sweet. And one day, it's not every day that the grandfather would let them go into this orchard, but one day the grandfather let them go into the orchard. It was mango season and this big mango tree had borne so many mangoes. They ate on these mangoes. The children were so happy, but sooner than later it was dark and the grandfather said, "You people need to leave the orchard now." They were hesitant to leave. Of course, you know, children, they wouldn't want to give up their enjoyment that quickly, but the grandfather said, "Don't worry, you will come back in the morning and you can continue eating your mangoes." Well, they went, and that night it rained and there was a storm that night. When they woke up, I mean, he says they could hardly sleep. They were waiting to wake up in the morning and go back eat these mangoes on the mango tree. Unfortunately for them, when they arrived the orchard that morning, they realized that this huge mango tree had fallen. They were angry first with their grandfather. They thought maybe he tricked us yesterday, came last night and cut it while we were asleep. So they ran and called him, and they said the mango tree had fallen. Confused and pretty surprised, the grandfather accompanied them into the orchard to see what had happened. And he took all of them closer to the roots of this mango tree, and he showed them. He said, look, while this mango tree stood tall and mighty with these green leaves and these beautiful fruits, they were termites that were eating at the root of the mango tree. And when the storm passed that night, it was enough to push down that mango tree. Why? Because the invisible roots that were actually grounding it and holding it up had been chopped up by those termites. Had these termites been eating above the surface, the grandfather would probably have seen it and have used chemicals probably to kill these termites. But no, the work of the termites happened underground where no one could see. It's the same in our lives as leaders today. Are you projecting one image but struggling with some things on the inside which you have not confessed to anybody? The truth is, until you let somebody in, they will not be able to see where you need help, and they will not be able to grow your character. Remember, we're talking about character and community as they relate with each other. What are you projecting? Does your outer life as a leader match your inner life? Or are there termites that are eating at the roots of who you are, and you are too ashamed to reveal it or to acknowledge it? We have come to pray a prayer we call the termite prayer. We always talk about this prayer. And our termite prayer goes something like this. Oh God, if any of the leaders that we are working with right now are hiding any things and termites are eating at different areas of their lives, please God, give these termites sharper teeth and speed, so that they can eat at those roots sooner. Because the sooner you fall and expose the real problem, the sooner you can get help. So it sounds like a bad prayer, but trust me, it's a very good prayer. It's prayed with your best intentions at heart. And so we hope that as we dive into these things this week, that you will embrace the call to integrity as a leader. You would embrace the challenge to be authentic with yourself, to project who you really are, and have the kind of support that you need from the people you work with, from the people you lead, from the people you live among, rather than pretend to be what you are not. Because like we know, that mango tree, it's only a matter of time before the termites push it down. Are you authentic as a leader?